Hello, everybody. Happy 2024. This is Leyla up at the top of the show saying, Mortified the Friendship Quest will be back. Or rather, are back. This conversation about Amina Al-Sirafi, a book by S.A. Chakraborty, was actually recorded a couple of months ago and just never made it up because of the same reason that we've been gone for so long, which is that real life got in the way. But it's a new year. Our schedules have rearranged a little bit, and Aaron and I are so excited to be back on a bi-weekly basis for now. So we will be posting episodes every 2 weeks. And then perhaps at a later date, we might go back to our weekly schedule, depending on how things go this year. But either way, we're super excited to be back, super excited to be hanging out with each other again. And I just want to say for the couple of folks that have reached out and sent us really lovely messages about the show, thank you so much. We really appreciated hearing that folks just like hearing us hang out, and we're happy to be providing that time again for you in the new year. Have a lovely time. Please enjoy this episode, and if you love us, please don't hesitate to leave us a review on Spotify or iTunes just to help us make it look like the show is alive. Here we go.
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Falco Balalamat. That's me.
This week, we swashbuckle across the Indian Ocean in Shanna Chakraborty's Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi. Before we try super hard not to be horny for our demon husband, remember you can help us on Mortify the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
It's been a while since we checked in on Mrs. Shanna Chakraborty.
It has been. It's been a bit since the City of Brass tore us open and left us out to bleed.
Yeah, that was... I feel like the City of Brass trilogy, the David Bad trilogy, was like one of those things that like we started talking about before we started doing the podcast and like Twitter DMs. And like and famously our Mortified episode was us like doing the last like the City of Gold or whatever, Empire of Gold. Mm-hmm. And just like I think like we had both like just finished it, and it was just like completely nonsensical, just like screaming about books, and like that's good shit. That's what Shanna Chakraborty does to a motherfucker. She
truly, what a writer. And I remember when she started tweeting back in the good old days of Twitter.
Yeah, when people tweeted.
I remember she started tweeting she was doing a pirate book, and both of us were freaked the fuck out. We were so excited. She would like occasionally talk about the research she was doing, and it just sounded very fun. And you and I are nerds.
But yeah, so this book recently came out. I think it was, March of this year?
Mm-hmm. It came out, I think, right around the same time as Babel.
Oh, Babel was last year.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking on internet. It looks like February 28th, 2023 is when Al-Sirafi came out. So it's been, a while. It's for us to get around to it. But, we just did. I managed to get through it this week. And it was great, I think. I thought it was really fun.
Oh, I had a great time. I was thoroughly charmed by Amina. It's just nice to read a book that, like, don't get me wrong, I love the David Bad trilogy, but it wasn't, like, funny. This book is funny.
Right. The thing about David Bad, and that, you can listen to us kind of talk about this in our Empire of Gold episode, but, like, David Bad is like a very complex, like political and magical system, right? There's like different kinds of Deva that hail from different Deva countries. There's like 6 different factions of Deva, and they all have like different rules and stuff. And like there's a lot of like grappling with what it means to wield power and like what redemption looks like after you've committed atrocities. And there's really not much of that in here. This one's just kind of like bouncing around various islands doing pirate shit.
Doing magical pirate shit.
That's right.
And Amina is like such a fun lens Amina's lens is just, like, so fun, because she's just... First of all, I really liked the fact that a lot of the story... It's almost like you're starting with the sequel, because Amina's retired and has been for a decade, and so you have to kind of piece together what happened that led to her retiring and sequestering herself from her comrades.
Right.
And the truth of it is, like, pretty tragic, but also there's, like, a lot of fun, like, mystery to it, because she did genuinely have fun before the big tragedy, and how, like, her demon husband ties into it, and how her daughter ties into it, and how it's all connected to this, like, woman who shows up at her house and blackmails her, and, you know, I thought it was really fun, and we'll talk about the very, very ending, but the reveal of who the scribe is, it did make me very emotional. I thought it was very sweet.
It was nice, yeah. So the story opens with this scribe Jamal, who is like taking the history of Amina Al-Sirafi and like talking about the people he interviewed and, you know, getting the story directly from Amina herself. And basically it starts out with Amina, you know, she is a mom in her early 40s. Basically, like Leyla said, retired from a life of pirate adventures after some sort of disaster, you know, broke up her crew. We don't exactly know what, but she and her mom and her daughter just kind of live like a pretty humble life in what is now Oman. And basically she's just kind of like, her daughter's like 10 years old. Her daughter, whose name is
Marjana.
Marjana, that's right. And, you know, she's just like, I don't want my daughter to, you know, deal with all the stuff that happened to me. You know, my mom is still mad at me for the time that I disappeared when I was a teenager and then came back 15 years later, a pirate lord. A
pirate lord with a baby.
Yeah, wild shit. But yeah, basically what happens is, like, you know, the book opens with her rescuing two idiot children who try to summon a demon from a swamp. And then because of that, this lady, Salima, who's like a rich noblewoman, basically, tracks her down, and she's like, hey, I heard that you were the legendary pirate queen, Amina Al-Sirafi. And Amina's like, no, that's not me. And then her daughter comes down, and she's like, Mom, why do we have guests? And she's like, oh, that's weird. I thought you said you didn't have kids. And Amina's like, I'll kill you. And then she's like, no, you won't, because I'll give you 1,000,000 dinar if you can rescue my granddaughter, Dunya, who has been kidnapped by a Frankish mercenary wizard named Falco Palamenestra, I believe is how you say his name.
Whose name Amina cannot pronounce, and it is so fucking funny every time.
It's pretty good. I think it is also, just for me, Falco. There's only one Falco in my canon, which is, of course, the guy from Star Fox. So,
of course, yes.
That's just kind of a funny...
Is that who you were picturing the entire time as he was doing his wizard shit?
I was picturing like a Spanish like conquistador, basically, but that's actually too early. This takes place, I think, sometime after the Second Crusade, so like 1100s, I want to say, early 1100s.
12th century, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, the reason that Amina actually takes this job, besides the $1 million dinar, is that the daughter who is kidnapped is the daughter of her former crewman Asif, who was one of the reasons that the crew broke up. His death, which we'll find out about later on in the book. But she agrees, and she's like, okay, well, I'll get my crew together, maybe I won't like get the girl, but I'll at least figure out if she's alive or whatever, and you can pay me some fraction. So she goes to gather her crew and finds her boat, which is the Marawati. And she's got two crewmates that she's able to pick up. One is Dahlia the Poisoner, and the other is Tinbu, who is her first mate. Do you have thoughts on Dahlia and Tinbu?
Is it Dahlia? I thought it was Delilah. Where's my copy of the book? Flip open to a random page in the back. It's Delilah.
No way.
Dalila.
There's no way. Hold on. Stopping the podcast. This can't be her name. It is Delilah. Shit. Dalila. Delilah. Fuck. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Well, Delilah. yeah, who do you prefer, Dahlia or sorry? What are your thoughts on Delilah and Tinbu?
I want you to know I'm fucking keeping this in.
Yeah, this sucks.
They're both chaos monsters. I love them. So Delilah just does poisons, but in her middle age, her eyesight's going a little bit, so all her experimenting with poisons is even weirder, and she won't tell anybody what's in any of them, and she's very secretive of the whole affair. And it's just with, like, complete resignation that everyone just, like, I think there's a scene where Amina is, like, eating dinner next to her experimenting with poisons, and it's just with complete resignation. It's just, this is how she is. This is what we're working with. Love her to death. Don't know a single thing about her, and that's fine. Like, Delilah's not even her real name, and you don't find out her real name. It's just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't exist.
Right. And you know, she's just like she's like kind of a very prototypical like side character for me, which is like, okay, we have somebody who's like there for the main character to bounce off of and be friends with, and they have like one neat trick. That's all you really need for a side character, and Delilah's ability is poisons and explosives, and that's all you really need.
Poisons and explosives, and then in terms of Tinbu, he's also a little chaos monster. He has been the one that's been keeping the Marawati like in shape and seaworthy, and been using her for semi-legitimate work. And when we meet him, he's like getting his ass dragged to be sentenced to death for smuggling. Oopsie doops. He's an archer, and I feel bad for his beautiful merchant lover. This man is a gay disaster, and I love that for him very much.
Yeah, like a lot of the first act of the book is devoted to his gay Jewish lover trying to help break him out of prison and save him and for his whole crew from being crucified. And, you know, I think that, you know, were Chakraborty somebody who doesn't have all that experience, like if I tried to write a book like this, that whole sequence would have been cut, because it's, you know, it is doing a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to get through, but like it does also. I think it provides a lot of just like helping to build out the character of Amina and Delilah, and like kind of figuring out, like showing what they're doing and like their hijinks, because there's like a whole bit where they intentionally get arrested, and then they're like, oh no, you found our hashish, dang it, oh. You don't. That's not our drugs, officer. Please don't take them. And Delilah's like, yeah, you fucking pussy ass bitch. You couldn't even fucking. You couldn't handle this shit. You couldn't smoke that. You fucking babies. And they're like, we're not babies. Fuck you. And they take the drugs that fall off her back and then immediately fall asleep. And then she's like, yeah, fucking idiot men.
And then because you know that's not the only. That's not Tinbu's only power. He also has a cat I'm obsessed with.
Oh, yeah.
Payasam, I think her name is?
Payasam, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was looking for it in my copy of the book. Payasam is useless. She has to be hand-fed. She has anxiety, and if the ship rocks a little bit, she falls off the roof. Amina fucking hates her.
And Payasam loves Amina, which is very funny. And I do appreciate that, you know, at the very end of the book, after all the disasters happen, Payasam shows up just like wet and pathetic, truly like a wet cat. And then Amina's like, how the fuck are you still alive?
She survives so much, which we will get to.
It's great. Anyway, so they break Tinbu and his crew out of prison, and Amina basically is like, hey, y'all are gonna obey me now. I'm the captain now. Well,
she listen, I'm the captain now. Also, here's the fattest sheep you've ever eaten. Here's an allowance. Right. Here's all this shit. Remember this when you start to think about the fact that your captain's a woman.
Right. No, like that's part of this is like she's actually very, very good at maintaining the crew's loyalty, despite the fact that like, she's also, she is a woman, so like she does get some disrespect from the crew at first, and like the first person who disrespects her, she's like punches his teeth out. Which reminds me, Amina's fucking huge.
Yeah, she's built like a brick shithouse, running around in a turban, and I love her very much. And I do think it is a loss for the queer community that she likes men and men exclusively.
Yeah, no, it is just truly. We should have led with that. It's like, hey, this is a book about a huge stacked woman that's a pirate. But yeah, it is unfortunate that she is horny for men. Listen, you got to have a weakness. And unfortunately, hers is being heterosexual.
Terminally so, I would say.
Yeah, listen, same. I understand. It's hard out here for us. But basically from there, they're trying to track down the last known associate of this guy, Falco, and it's a man named Leith. And like, basically what happens is that they like, they give him some money to try to, get some information. And what he tells them is that Falco is looking for the moon of Saba, which is a legendary magical pearl that is, said to grant its owner, supernatural powers. And, he's about to give them more information, because they keep giving him this money. But like as he's drinking in this pub, he starts coughing. And then once they finally like hand over a big sack of money to like get him to give up more information than the fact that the pearl is, quote, on a big island, he starts to choke to death on the coins they paid him. And then both Tinbu and Amina are like, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah, the coins drain from the sack and appear in his throat. Pretty gruesome fucking death.
Listen, this is a Shannon Chakraborty novel, like, right? This is fun, but also it's like, by the way, terrible, terrible death.
Yeah, so Aaron and I have both been playing Baldur's Gate 3. Have you talked to this strange ox?
I've talked to some strange animals, but probably not, no. I don't know what this is.
There is an ox. And if you have to speak to animals, you speak to this ox. And he does jump scare you with gruesome images of murder a couple times.
What?
That's how I felt sometimes reading this book. I'm like, oh, it's the ox all over again.
Yeah, there's some bits where it gets hairy. But yeah, I really liked that bit. I thought I was like, okay, let's establish this guy as a fucking weird wizard, an evil wizard, which is very fun.
It's fun until they meet him. I don't know. He's very far removed from like Mickey Fantasia 2000 broom magic.
Once you actually meet him, it's like, oh, this guy sucks. But he's scary.
Yeah. Horrifying.
Basically, they come back and they're like, hey, Salima, you didn't tell us, one, because what he also told them was that her granddaughter voluntarily went with Falco because she wanted to escape a marriage. And she offered him the moon of Saba as payment. So one, they confront Salima about that, like, hey, you didn't tell us this. Two, he's a wizard who can kill people with fucking coins from miles and miles away. We're out. Salima's like, well, if you quit, I'll kill your family. Amina's not thrilled about that, understandably so. But, seeing as she doesn't really have another option, she's like, okay, I'll go through Dunya's things, and she finds some hints there, and she has to go, build her, get her the last member of her team, which is Majed, who lives in Madagascar, her navigator. How do you feel about Majed?
I love him. He's just like a salty old man, and he has to keep this ragtag crew, because he originally sailed with Amina's grandfather, or father?
One of them. The leopard was the sea leopard was her grandfather, I believe.
Yeah, so he sailed with her grandfather, and so he was a, quote, navigator with a checkered past. Mm-hmm. And he's great, and he has a beautiful, perfect family in Madagascar, and I love his wife very much, because his wife is the only one who knows about his quote-unquote checkered past. Mm-hmm. And she brings her whole family above the Merawati while Majeda's, like, working on notes to, like, try and piece together, based on these, like, vague clues, what island they could possibly be talking about. And she comes on the boat, and, Amina's like, oh, like, I'm sorry to, like, disturb you or whatever. And the wife is like, don't worry about it. don't worry about it, because I have a feeling you are not disturbing us whatsoever, and I have a feeling it is not the last you see of my husband. Wink. And Amina at one point puts together, she's like, I think him coming here was her fucking idea. I think she knows he wants to be at sea and pushed him here. But he's great. He wants to go to China very badly. And him and Amina bicker like siblings, as they should. He's great. He's the only brain cell on the entire ship.
Yeah, no, it's very funny. He's definitely the responsible one out of these, these like 40 somethings. He's like a 50 or 60 something, and he's just like, you all gotta fucking pull your shit together. One thing that I bringing up China makes me think that, like, I feel like this is set up to be a trilogy, or at least a series. I don't know if you got that, but I would love to see like a continuation of this, and then like go to China. That'd be really fun. Fingers crossed.
I could take it or leave it, only in the sense that, like, I have a few. It definitely has the, like, how to put this? I personally would love to hear more about Amina and her adventures, but I am also of the sort that, like, if it doesn't need a sequel, it doesn't need a sequel. And I think this is set up in such a way where, yes, you could serialize her adventures, but also there's something kind of fun in not knowing what happened before or after.
Right.
So I could go either way. And if Shannon Chakraborty stands to make a fucking fat sack of money from more Amina Al-Sirafi book, I will be first in line.
Right. That's kind of where I come down to, is like, yes, I do think stories should end, but also publishing is a machine that churns out trilogies. So that's kind of what it seemed like they were setting up. But I haven't heard anything about whether or not this book has been commercially successful. So.
I hope so. It's delightful.
Yeah, it's great. Fingers crossed. Anyway, basically, Majed figures out that these notes in Dunya's room are leading back to the island of Socotra, which is a really big island off the coast of Yemen. So they sail there. And one thing that, Amina's like, hey, it's weird that, like, this legendarily, like, terrible, cursed island, with all these bad weather patterns around it. It's weird that we've had perfect weather for 10 days. And everybody's like, hey, Amina, chill out. It's good that we have good weather. But as soon as they, like, get on the island, she takes Delilah and Tinbu with her. And they immediately run into Raksh, who is the aforementioned demon husband. How do you feel about Raksh?
I love him. I think it's probably one of my favorite. Him and Amina are probably my favorite characters. He sucks, right? He's terrible.
Yes, yep.
He is he's fairly ill-defined in the sense that every time Amina calls him a demon or whatever, he's like, not a demon. It's kind of like in The Good Place, Janet.
Mm-hmm.
Every
right.
time, oh, Janet's a girl, not a girl. Same thing. Mm-hmm. Demon, not a demon. And the whole thing is that, he is a thing that's, like, slightly too ancient to comprehend. And the closest you get to it is understanding that he is a spirit of discord, and in particular, discord caused by ambition.
Right.
And when you find out how him and Amina met, I was in fucking hysterics, because it is truly the most just batshit set of circumstances. They both got hammered and got married so they could fuck, and it entrapped them in this relationship forever.
Well, that's like the reason that she prevents him from killing all of them, is like, oh, she tells him that, like, in Islam only a woman can initiate divorce, and like it requires a big long ritual, when in fact it does not. But Raksh is stupid enough to believe it, so that's how they get him on their side. But I highlighted the bit that where she's talking about how she met Raksh, because like. She's talking about how, like, once they finally got married, the passage is, let us simply say the marriage was well consummated in every way. In ways, indeed, not even I, who had heard every sort of foul-mouthed boast from sailors and pirates, had known was possible. Which, like, it is very funny for Amina to be making this she's telling this story to Jamal, like this nerd scribe, and she's like, listen, I'm not going to go into detail, but I did fuck the shit out of that demon.
I
which
fucked
is
that
very
shit out of
fun.
that demon in creative ways, in ways that were too athletic for me to recount, and in ways I did not think was capable
Geometry
of
and
doing.
physics have not caught up to the ways in which we did it, and you
Even
gotta
he was
respect that.
impressed.
It's great. I love it. I love how horny she is. I love how much she just like ruined her whole life because she is so into him. There's another passage after this where she's like, she gets distracted by like how his lungi is very thin. Quote, so thin it was impossible not to notice that his backside still looked plump enough to bounce a dinar off. Which is like, yes. So funny.
Listen. They do fuck again, which I think is a decision so hilarious.
It's really funny.
Like, the whole time because he's like, he's not a human being. He doesn't give a fuck. Every time she talks to him, he's like, well, we could fuck. That would pass the time. I'm bored, you're bored. I don't really hold grudges like humans, even though you locked me in a box and threw me at the bottom of the ocean. No hard feelings. I mean, like, let's bone. And she's like, I will fucking cut you open. And then finally at the end, she relents.
She's like, all right, we got an hour. Sure.
She's so tired. And he is so hot. And she's like, ooh, fine. And she fucks him and then promptly ties him to a raft and sets him off to sea.
And as he floats away, he's like, but you let us have sexual intercourse. Like Team Rocket blasting off again.
And her friends are like, you fucking what? You dumb whore.
She's like, what? They're like,
We're
God
married.
damn it.
We're married. It's still fine.
It's fine. I haven't divorced him. He's also her fifth husband, which is really funny. Because like she her code
he's her
is
fourth.
You're right.
He's her fourth, and she's looking.
She's looking for a fifth.
For looking for a fifth.
Yes, that's right. Yes, no, because she won't have sex because she like found religion, and she's like, oh, no, I won't have anybody unless we're have sex with anyone unless we're married. So she had 3 previous husbands, the only one of whom parted amicably with her. I think she killed the other 2.
Yeah, that's the implication.
Amina rules. Great character of all time.
Real loss for the queer community. I keep saying I support women's wrongs.
Yeah. One day, we'll write that fanfic. So anyway, they're on the island. They sneak into Falco's camp. They find out that he's also like a murderer, right? He like destroyed a group of villagers who live on the island, and enslaved a bunch of the other ones. So they like go in. They free the villagers, but Amina has to stay behind. And she has this conversation with Falco, who is, like this, wizard, priest, soldier guy. And he's basically like, listen, I fought in the Crusades, then I fought all over Europe. And it turns out there is no God, or if there is a God, he sucks. So I'm going to kill him. He is the protagonist of a JRPG video game, except he sucks. Amina's like, hey, okay, I don't want to help you, though. And he's like, well, I guess you're going to have no choice. And he summons the Merid. And, like, this is where we start getting into the mythology from Daevabad, right? Because, Merids are they're, like, legendary, like, in our real world, like, water spirits. But these Merids are very different from the Daevabad ones, right? I don't know how much you remember. I don't remember a whole lot.
Because the Daevabad ones were kind of, like, sea people.
Right.
And then this one's a big fuck-off sea scorpion with tentacles.
Right, exactly. It rules. He is, like, enslaved it by, like, crashing a ship onto it and then using that ship to create a crown of, like very much like in Baldur's Gate. There's a crown that, like, keeps the creature imprisoned, which is very cool. I love an evil crown. But basically, he uses his evil magics and he puts like a scorpion stinger in Amina, forces her to drink it. Thankfully, Raksh is able to pull it out after Delilah shows up and throws what is essentially just gunpowder, just straight up gunpowder into the fires and just like explodes half of his like mercenary force, and they escape. And they're like, okay, well, I found out that Dunya actually escaped from them and he, that's what Falco wanted to do, is ally with Amina and try to track her down, because he destroyed his ship to take over the Merid, which was perhaps not the wisest choice. They do eventually find Dunya. They rescue her. Dunya explains her part of the story about why she ran away. She doesn't want to be in this marriage because she's trans. And she doesn't have words for it to describe it yet. But like that's kind of what she's feeling, and she's like, I can't really do this.
Right. Well, to clarify,
and then she also reveals that like her knowledge of magical artifacts and stuff is what led to the massacre in the village. And Mia's like, all right, I really sympathize with you, kid, but like you got to go home. You know too much, and you're getting people killed.
Right.
But then the marriage shows up and just completely wrecks their shit. And Falco takes over their boat, and Amina negotiates like, hey, please keep everybody alive. Or Dunya actually helps negotiate that. But
by smashing the tablet with the instructions to the Pearl of Saba and going, it's all up here now, motherfucker, what you gonna do? And to clarify, like, Dunya is like, she wants to transition, but like,
right.
Being locked in this marriage with the governor of the town in which she resides, so there's like political pressure on the Union, doesn't exactly allow for that. And Amina then is caught in a rock and a hard place, because she's like, okay, so either you get, I don't know, kidnapped and killed by this evil Spanish wizard, or I take you home and you're in an unhappy marriage, but you're safe. I'm really sorry to do this to you, but we're fucking going home. And that's when the marriage shows up. I think there's some like really crazy imagery in this scene of like when the marriage like uses its tentacles to lift the ship over its fucking head, and she just looks down and the waves are far away. Ooh.
Yeah, she's like, fuck, shit, fuck. Like, it's really good. Like, I think a lot, like, for American audiences, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is probably the closest touchstone that you get to this. But like, I truly think that like this is exactly what those movies are trying to go for. It's just like big, spectacular, high stakes, like naval, shenanigans, and like it's a really great. All like that's I posted on Blue Sky about this, but I was like, this is the shit that makes books good. Like, craft is one thing, it's one thing to be like, hey, I use variation in my sentences. I set up my plot hooks ahead of time so that way when they pay off, it feels satisfying. But sometimes you just got to put a big fucking sea monster on the cover of your book, and then the sea monster shows up, and it's like, oh shit, there's a sea monster. This rules. That's writing, baby.
That's writing, baby. And then it only gets... Honestly, this was a point at which I looked at how much was left in the book, and I'm like, okay, things are about to start moving very quickly.
Well, here, I kind of feel the opposite, because, like, so Amina is killed, essentially, right? Or she's nearly killed, right? Falco stabs her, throws her off the edge, and Amina barely survives, and is able to, draw, how do you move
paddle.
A boat? What is paddle? Yeah, basically. Yeah. She paddles a scrap of, lumber until she finds an island. And then on the island, a bunch of fucking batshit stuff starts happening, and I just said out loud, what the fuck? What is happening in this book?
We get the Perry. We get Rakshas there, who fucking coward ass fled, and for some reason Amina's never been able to hurt him before, but on this island she can, and she tries to kill him. She's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, you're awful, you fled, you goddamn stupid idiot coward. And he negotiates his way back into her neutral graces. He's never quite in her good graces.
Right.
And then you start getting shit like the Perry Court. You start getting a Perry political insurrectionist. You start getting like magic shit.
Do you know who that insurrectionist is?
I feel like I should have, and then I couldn't.
He's in
place
Daevabad.
him.
I think he dies in the first book, but he helps the protagonist of Daevabad, I believe.
Oh,
but it's Kaiser, yeah.
That same Perry?
I believe so. I think this is
a
in-universe thing. Like, because there's a little bit too much attention paid to him, and, like, I looked it up later, and there is a Perry named Kaiser that appears in Daevabad. I'd have to go back and reread City of Copper.
And I think there was only City of Brass. I think there was only the one Perry and that comes and saves it. I was wondering if that was him, but I didn't. do my due diligence.
I think that movie cinematic universes are bad, but I think author cinematic universes are good. So, not cinematic, actually, explicitly not cinematic universes, tie-ins.
It's really just a tie-in, considering, like, one of these stories took place very much in Egypt, right? That's where he showed up last time, and now he's shown up in, I forget which, they traverse several countries.
He's
I
like
on this magical island.
He's southeast of where the David Bad trilogy takes place.
Okay, yeah. So this is, in the Socotra area. Yeah, so crazy stuff happening.
It's fun. Here's the thing, like, I wouldn't have put this section in the book. I think it's very fun. I do feel like it's a little bit convenient just to be like, and then she gets magic superpowers. But like, hey, this isn't like I think this is a fun story. It is working in a different mode.
You didn't think that the protagonist of the David Bond trilogy turning out to be a secret princess healer was convenient?
But that is part of the story, right? That's like every fantasy is like, oh, you're secretly, a magically important person, right? That's a lot of fantasy, storytelling, right? And it makes sense for I think what the politics shit was going on in that book was, this one really does feel like, and then I showed up to a magic island and I became stronger, and the magic island gave me the powers to defeat the people that I've been trying to fight after. I don't want to say that Chakraborty wrote herself into a corner. That's not what I'm saying. But it is just like a weird thing to just be like, at the lowest point, then you kind of get to a completely different weird place that gives you, the hyperbolic time chamber.
I think it tracks for me in this like style of storytelling, because I think it is very much emulating like a folktale, and folktales read like this sometimes, right? It's like, oh, and then it stumbled into the very thing that they need.
I think that's a better way. Like this is very much in the style of similarly like to how David Bad, right? It makes sense for her to be a magical princess for whatever reason. I think you're right. It does make sense for Al-Sirafi to show up on a magic island, right? If you're going to show up on a magic island, it's going to happen in a pirate, thing after you've lost everything, and it's fine.
Think of this as the Fast and Furious of the book world, right? Like, of course, there's a crane there that you can swing into another car. She's the fucking Vin Diesel of this shit.
She is kind of the Vin Diesel of this universe, which you gotta respect. Again, Universal Studios, if you'd like anybody to write a novelization of any Fast Five onward, I'll write a novelization of any of those books. Talk to my agent. But like. Yeah, I don't think that I'm not. It's not like a criticism. It's just like a weird thing that happens. Really,
right? It stood out to you. That makes sense.
It stood out to me. It's not a choice that I would personally make, but I do understand why Chakraborty makes it.
Yeah, I don't. But I don't write in the folktale style either, right? So like, I wouldn't make it either, but I enjoy reading it because I grew up on folktales, so like, it's fun.
Yeah. It's just like there's a bit where like she's in a forest and she's like, what the fuck is happening? And then like a fruit falls down from the tree, and the fruit is like a little monkey person, and then like a huge evil like bat just swoops out and eats it in front of her, and she's just like, I guess this is my life now, just like watching wild dream sequence shit happening, and that's when she finds Raksh, and they negotiate with the Perry Court, and this is where I was talking about how it seems like it's set up for more books, which is that they're like, okay, fine, if you find 5 more magical artifacts or whatever, we'll grant you permission to live, and she's like, fine, sure, whatever, and Kaiser takes her, basically she just like gets on his back, they fly back to Socotra, and then she meets the other pirate clans. What's the name of the big dude with the cool ship? Magnum. Yeah, and basically they find these pirate dudes, and most of them don't want to help her, but Magnan, who is like the fucking... I don't know how to describe Magnan, except like he is like the most bro-ass pirate I can imagine. It's just like, yeah, I'm fucking cool. Yeah, do you want to fuck? No, it's cool if you don't want to fuck. Anyway, my ship has flamethrowers. Like, he's the fucking man. I love him.
He rules so hard because the Pirate Council clearly fucking hates him. And he walks in there, like, pussy forward, and he's like, oh, you guys are meeting without me, and my feelings are hurt. Anyway, your pussy asses don't want the fucking treasure she's talking about, so I'm gonna take it. Go fuck yourselves. Let's go. Like,
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what happens, and And she's like, thanks, Brando. And he gives her a meteorite knife, which is sick. And she's like, thanks, dude. This is cool. Like, this is what I'm talking about. It's just like, she just keeps getting shit. And it's like, okay, sure.
It's so funny because, like, she's talking to him. She's like, okay, you don't happen to have, like, I don't know, a blessed sword or, like, I don't know, like a thing made out of, like, iron. And he's like, have you been talking to my crew? And she's like, no. And he's like, come on. He takes her down and gives her this dagger. It is such a fresh breath of fresh air of a scene in comparison to, like, the Merid. Dunya's gone. The crew is kidnapped. Everything is terrible. Raksha's there. The Parries are throwing her to her death. It's just this escalation. And then there's just this guy. He's like, yeah, bro, I want the jewels. You want the girl. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. And then they with the help of Magnan's pirates, they lead a two-pronged assault. He very bravely, in my opinion, takes on the Merid. And, like, you know, his ship is, I think his ship survives. I think they're able to, like, scare it off with fire until the point where, it comes onto land. But, you know, she leads a raid on the camp, and with her superpowers, is able to mostly defeat Falco's crew. And then,
one member of it, and then, out of fucking fire and flame, Tinbu, with his broken ass leg, runs out and helps her finish the job.
Yeah, the last dude. And they like unplug them. They like she can start because she's been magically enhanced. She can see all the tethers that had like the tether that had been put into her. She can see all of those tied to all the crew. And like like there's at one point where she's like freeing one person, and she's like, "Hey, I freed you," and she's like, and the dude is like, "I let my cousin get eaten alive for this. I wanted this. What are you talking about? Freed me." And she's like, all right, whatever. Stabs him to death. But like, it's fun. It's cool. It's like just a little bit fucked up, which I like. But it's still not so fucked up that it like ruins the whole tone.
Well, there's the most fucked up scene was, so while the first time they arrive in Socotra, like while they're still looking for Falco and all of them, they come across this like desecrated village,
right?
And there are 3 elders that suffered like this horrible slow death, and they have to take them down and bury them. And it's like this, and the whole time Amina's freaking out because she can like feel something watching her, and it's Raksh, so it's like fine. But I like that scene. It is the adult version. For lack of a better comparison, it is the adult version of that scene in Mulan where they're singing A Girl Worth Fighting For, and then they come across that fucking village. Like, that is the starkness with which the tone, like, changes.
Yeah. Which, like, we love to see it. I think I think that the tone does shift very quickly, but it's basically always to emphasize, like, how terrible Falco is. Yeah,
Falco's a fucked up guy.
Yeah. Anyway, one thing that the Perry court told Amina was that like the Marids really treat favors really importantly, or Kaiser did, not the court, but
illegally.
Yeah, basically she is able to free the Merid from Falco's magic, and the Merid is like, okay, I'm gonna stop trying to kill you for now. She fights Falco in like an evil chamber, and like. What happens is that Dunya reverses the inscription on the chamber. So instead of, him getting all the power of the pearl, which is also a wash basin, by the way, the person who is trapped inside the pearl gets inside Falco. And I just kind of like the scene that happens because like he's not actively hostile. He's just like kind of confused. He's just kind of like shooting like moonbeams out of his eyes and like kind of just causing general havoc. She's like, God damn it. And then the Merid comes and like tears the roof off of the thing, and the spirit shoots back up into the sky where it belongs, and then they finish off Falco, and that's it basically.
Yeah. Yep. And then they get to go home, and it's nice because like Amina gets reunited with her family, and they all like hang out aboard the Marwadi, and you can tell that like she's kind of finally come to terms with the fact that she has to give her daughter some freedom, and like she misses the life at sea, and maybe someday like her daughter will join her on the ship. And so they're like, finally she's telling her daughter about her own checkered fucking past. And it's just like a really nice ending. And the big reveal at the end is that the scribe she's been yelling at the entire time. One of my favorite passages in the book is Amina's like in the library of Dunya's like grandma, like looking for clues as to where she could find the granddaughter. And she's like, it was creepy as shit. There were all sorts of shit down there, including, like polished artifacts or whatever, and cocks. And yes, those cocks too. Hey, Jamal, no, you fucking stop that. You sit down. How do you think I fucking felt being surrounded by dead animals and stone penises all day? You get back to that. It's
you write that shit down.
You write that shit down. That was context. That's important context.
I did not get paid enough for that.
So it's like a lot of that. Like she'll interrupt her own narrative to yell at Jamal, and Jamal will write it down. And the reveal is that Dunya rejects her grandmother's proposal, quote unquote, runs away. And Amina's like, I don't know where your granddaughter is. Not technically a lie, because out comes Jamal.
Right.
Very sweet. I liked it a lot.
Yep. That's nice. It's a nice ending. I really like the use of Jamal as a tone piece to like kind of like, act as the voice of the narrator, but still gave Amina her own voice. So like, I think that's a wise choice to have like that kind of like narratorial, aspect in there. But yeah, no, I think it wraps up very well. It's very fun. I think it was just generally like a very fun read. I really enjoyed it. I think Chakraborty's, crushing it. It is a big switch from all the political machinations of Daevabad, but like, it's still like a neat, fun adventure, which like you got to give it up.
I was like a little bit scared going into it because I remembered there were parts of the Daevabad trilogy that like broke my heart, that were like hard to read. And fellas, friends in the audience, I'm going through it right now. I got the depressies, and I didn't know if I could handle a Chakraborty special, especially after Babel. And R.F. Kuang leaving that tragedy at my fucking feet. But no, this was a delightful and fun read, and I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad we did it. And bittersweet that it's such fun, and this is our last episode for 2 months.
Yep, ain't that the way. But yeah, I don't really have a marketing minute because like this is the kind of story we would invent in a marketing minute. I really truly think so. Horny ex-pirate mom in her 40s kills crusaders and fucks demons is like that's Mortified.
Yeah, that is. Congrats, Mrs. Chakraborty. You have a spot on our podcast.
Yeah, listen. Congratulations. Come on anytime. Come through. But yeah, just keep that in mind, listeners. We'll be taking a hiatus for a couple months, but we'll be back and we'll do more unhinged shit then. Until then, Leyla, where can we be found on the internet?
You can find me at LEYLSES on Blue Sky and Tumblr. I just wrote an essay. I wrote an essay about turning 30. A thing I'm doing in November, and it's like half me waxing melancholy, like a sad Slav, as is my right, and then half an anecdote about a Fall Out Boy concert. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, you should read it. And that's all I'm really up to.
It's a genuinely very good essay.
Thanks.
So I think y'all should read it. You can find me on Blue Sky at AA Voigt. You can find me on Tumblr at Monster Factory Fanfic. You can find me on YouTube at AA Voigt, where I just released an episode about Aaron King's Patchwork World, but also about how when you are creating art, mostly tabletop games, but really any art, it is okay to not polish your stuff. The most important thing is the words that you're putting into it and the heart and the story that you're telling. So check that out if that sounds like that's interesting to you. I do another podcast with my friends Michael and Josh. That's the Bible Boys. We're also on hiatus for that because Josh is trying very hard to educate the youth of tomorrow. And also I'm moving. But yeah, check that out if Christian media is interesting to you and the ways in which it is weird. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how shall we end this episode of Mortified?
You let us have sexual intercourse!
Ding! We'll see you all next week.
Meow, that's right.